Fellow Falcoholics, what is up? Welcome to episode 102 of the Falcoholic Live. I'm, of course, your host, Kevin Knight, joined by an illustrious cast of co-hosts this evening, including, as you can see, the Falcoholic himself, Dave Choate. We've got Adnan Ikic with us, Evan Birchfield, and likely also Eric Robinson joining us at some point tonight. So we got a full house tonight. We're going to be breaking down basically kind of talking a little bit about free agency and how it's impacted the Falcons roster. What are the biggest needs after the conclusion of free agency? Is there any consensus among us whatsoever about who they're going to take in the first round? All these questions and more. We'll get to your questions as well. But before we get started, to check in with everyone, first off, Mr. Dave Choate, how are you doing this evening?
Hi, great. I never leave my house anymore. When people pass by, I hiss at them. It's great. It's the life I wanted.
Yes, well, it used to be weird when I would never leave my house, and now everyone's just kind of moved in on, my game. So
I know, yeah, it's nice to be popular.
Yep. Adnan, how are you faring in the midst of this quarantine?
Oh, just the opposite. I am struggling right now. Like
I can tell.
Go anywhere.
Yeah.
There's no gym. Yeah, you can see I've given up hope. I'm just laying back here at this point. This is what it's come to. Like when I first started, I was like over there somewhere, just sitting up, just so excited, and now it's just like. Now I feel like Dave in the winter when it's like 7 feet of snow blocking his front door and he can't go anywhere.
Oh, I'm always outside during that. Come on.
Yeah. He just walks straight into it and just makes a little Dave-sized, excavation to climb out of, and then you're good to go after that.
I'm a human plow, buddy.
You learn that skill after a couple decades up north.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And there's Eric. That's a good time for me to check in with Eric. How are you doing tonight, Eric? Oh wait, I can't hear you, bud. Still can't hear you. Wait. All right.
He's gonna have to climb his way through it.
All right, I'm gonna go to Evan real quick. You work on that. I'm gonna check on Evan real quick. Yeah. Evan, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'll stall. I'm doing great. It's a good evening. No, it's it's rough for me. Jack Crawford, as I'm sure we'll discuss, was signed and is no longer with the Falcons, and it broke my heart. Just pretty much bored, like Adnan said. Is Eric's thing working yet?
How's it going, Eric?
Oh, and did I mention that I've actually been watching some Harry Potter? Can't stop. Go. It's always on TV.
Yeah.
Anyways, Eric, how's
you guys heard it here first that Evan's now a Titans fan after all of these signings. So he's going to go over to our Tennessee site, the Titanholic, and do their live shows after this one. This is his last
the
one.
Titanholic.
Well, I mean, they've got Vic Beasley. So
they do have Vic Beasley.
He would go.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm getting word now. Evan's now a Falcons fan again.
He's back. Yeah,
he's back already with that news.
I forgot Vic was there, so I have to come back.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna send Eric some tips here to see if we can get this fixed. But in the meantime, let's talk about. We had 2 free agent departures. So first of all, obviously Jack Crawford. Let's talk about that first. Evan, I know Jack is your boy. So what are your thoughts on now that it's official, Jack Crawford signing not with the Falcons in 2020?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not shocked though because after 2018 he had basically a career season for himself. I think he was like second on the team in sacks. I think he had like 6 or 6.5, which is pretty good. But then they, added like Tyler Davidson in 2019, and he had a much reduced role. People probably even forgot he was on the team. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of obvious they weren't gonna bring him back unless it was something cheap later on. But so now he's in Tennessee. So I mean, I'm happy for him. But yeah, I mean, they were addressing their defensive lines, so it's kind of it was expected. Just like I'm sure we'll talk about Clayborn later, but same thing. Just out with the old. I guess they're going to bring in some new stuff in the draft.
Yeah, yeah. It seems like that's basically the sign that they're showing us is that they're planning to add other players in the draft because the defensive tackle rotation, which we'll talk about definitely with these draft needs, is pretty slim, especially on pass rushers right now. It's basically Grady Jarrett, and then you're banking, I guess, on Jacob Tuati-Mariner being the impact pass rusher next to Grady Jarrett on third downs, or you're hoping for some sort of John Kaminsky awakening, which I guess that's probably the thing that I would hope for the most, but I wouldn't exactly put all your eggs in that basket. Anybody else have takes on Jack Crawford getting out of here?
Yes, it seems like Tennessee just takes every cut Atlanta Falcons since Harry Douglas. They just go over there to the Titans after, just go up north a little bit. They can still live in the South. It's still very nice weather down here. The thing is, we gave Evan, to make him feel better, full mute powers over all of us. So if we ever say something bad about Jack Crawford, he'll just hit the button.
Well, that's the thing. Now it doesn't even matter. Like, whatever the defense does, I can be as vocal about it because it's not like I'm gonna offend his feelings.
Yeah, but
He's on the team.
Yeah, but it's like we gave it to him like he's Tony Reali in Around the Horn. So, but my thing is, last year, I guess, with Tyler Davison playing so well for the Falcons, and he was super solid in the defensive tackle rotation. He was, I guess that made Jack more expendable. Like Evan said, Jack was really good a couple of years ago. I think he was second on the team in sacks. So make of that what you will from how poor that defense was. But yeah, it just felt like with Kaminsky showing some flashes last year, with Tuati-Mariner being solid in limited play, with Tyler Davison last year being a good base defensive tackle, felt like Jack was expendable, and I wish him the best.
Yeah, I mean, I like Jack, but it seemed like the writing was on the wall last year when they cut his snaps pretty significantly. It wasn't like he played poorly or anything, but it seemed like they were going in a different direction there. And then, they did add John Kaminsky, who's that kind of tweener hybrid player, who's probably going to be the heir apparent to Adrian Clayborn, which we'll talk about right now as well. But yeah, it's sad to see Jack go because he did have that really excellent season. What was it, 2018, where I think he had 6.5 sacks that year, which is tremendous for a defensive tackle. That's a very productive year from a sack perspective. So hopefully he goes on and is able to continue playing well. So let's move on to Adrian Clayborn because that's the other big defensive line loss that we're seeing. The writing was kind of on the wall, like we said. The Dante Fowler signing added a lot to the edge room. That's a huge addition. They still have tack. Surprisingly, they did not cut Alan Bailey, which would have saved them almost $5 million. They actually extended him to lower his hit this year, which I found strange, but they're going to do their own thing, I guess. And then the Falcons still have some other guys too, but Clayborn no longer involved. So what do you guys think about the loss of Clayborn? How big is that for 2020?
Eric, you there? You want to start us off?
Still can't hear you, bro. You might just want to restart your computer. I don't know.
Oh,
yeah. I know. That's like the nuclear option. Yeah.
I'll jump in, I guess. Clayborn, obviously, it's no great secret that he's a guy I liked a lot. I was disappointed when they lost him to the Patriots. I was thrilled when he came back last year. The guy has never been flashy except for when he was beating up on Chaz Green in that one game. But he's just so stone solid. Like, guys like that who come at an affordable price, they don't grow on trees. And so, letting him go, to me, is a potential mistake because you have to replace his production, you have to replace his versatility. And, I mean, do you do that with a draft pick? Are you getting a lot out of Steven Means? Is Kaminsky staying, on the defensive end rotation, or is he moving inside? These are questions that the Falcons have to answer. And someone on Twitter, LAX Nedrick, longtime reader, was pointing out to me the other day that if you look at it right now, the Falcons traditionally don't carry a ton of defensive linemen. That might change a little bit this year with a couple extra roster spots, but even right now, just given the number of guys they typically carry, Tuati Mariner is probably on the outside looking in. So, who are you adding to this group in the draft? Do they help to replace Clayborn or not? There's just so many questions with this defense, even after all the spending, after all the changes. I hated to see him go. I really wish he was still here.
Yeah, he was just a player that came in, and I mean he played above his contract absolutely, like when we first signed him, and then he's just been kind of just good. I mean he's good against the run too, which we could never really say that about Vic Beasley. So it was nice to have Clayborn around. He could offer you some inside pass rush as well. So that's a hole they're gonna have to fill. I'm guessing they're hoping that John Kaminsky can kind of fill that role. He's that similar size profile, and he's probably the best athlete on the team. I mean, no exaggeration. John Kaminsky's athletic testing was truly unusual. But Kaminsky coming from Division II football essentially to the NFL, he was a great special teamer last year, which you can't usually say about a 288-pound defensive end. But can he take a step forward this year? I think the team is hoping that he can, but probably best not to depend on that. But, this team probably will, so we'll see how that goes. Anyone else got Clayborn takes they want to rattle off here?
I'll just throw – I was looking at some of his stats. I mean, he rejoined the Falcons and as Dave mentioned, and, finished the season third on the team in sacks, first apparently in quarterback hits. If you're a PFF person, he had the fourth best overall PFF with grade with 71.7. It's a loss, and I think the Browns mind farting a little here, but I think it was like a 2-year deal for $6 million total or something.
Yeah, it wasn't like a ton of money.
Yeah. So it's not like they overpaid for him. I think that good for the Browns. They got a seasoned veteran who's. You pretty much know. I think for the Patriots, he had like 9 sacks, but you pretty much know he's going to get at least 3 to 4 sacks a year for you, and some pressures and stuff like that. That's pretty much what you're paying for. So, I'm happy for him more than anything. If he's going to get more playing time there, then good for him.
Yeah, absolutely. It's sad to see these guys go. I mean, it's really like this 2016 roster outside of some stars, has really kind of scattered to the winds now. Not a lot of the kind of mid-level guys are still here. We still got Deion Jones. We still got Matt Ryan, obviously Julio Jones, Jake Matthews, Alex Mack. But for how much longer, for Alex Mack. So it's kind of sad to see everyone scattered to the winds. That Super Bowl team is no more.
Hey, Kevin, it's okay. We still have the coach and general manager.
We do. The most important part of that team, right? Yeah. Thanks for reminding me about that. It was starting, we were starting to get onto a positive note, and then you had to remind me about that.
That's just what I do, Kevin.
Yeah, thanks for bringing me down. Keeping me grounded. Yeah.
I destroy our positivity for the sake of humor, because at this point, all I can do is laugh. Mm-hmm. Because if I can't laugh, then I don't even know what I'd be able to do if I couldn't laugh at this team. Right.
I mean, we have to do that sometimes. But at the end of the day, it's important to remind everyone, because apparently there's a section of the viewership or the fan base that likes to comment on the Falcoholic.com. Great website, by the way. Check it out. That thinks that we're too negative about this team. There's also a significant chunk that think we're too positive. So, I don't. Yeah, they're both wrong. Yeah, we're exactly right, is what Dave's trying to say.
Exactly right. Yeah.
All right, Eric, you want to try again?
How's this? You guys hear me?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
We got it. We got our technical brains together. We channeled the Apple geniuses or whatever brand of computer you have. Probably PC, but
IT guys.
Yeah, we got it. Yeah, just the almighty restart is, it fixes all. So,
ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
We got him. All right, so we just got we were talking about Adrian Clayborn's departure. Did you have any thoughts on him signing elsewhere?
It came at a mild surprise because I expected him to come back. I expected the team to kind of use him as one of those, you know, uh, final pieces in free agency. I expected them to sign him a little late, give him a little veteran salary, and bring him back because he was fairly productive for his skill set and for his role. He was a decent fit for him last year. So it did come at a surprise, but I feel that it's going to result into two things. I feel that the team is really placing some faith in John Kaminsky and his development and then him taking another step this season. And I also feel that the team is still going to target a veteran defensive end at some point.
Yeah.
There's still – Michael Bennett is still out there. Vinny Curry is still available. I hear Cameron Wake is possibly available, even though he's also leaning towards retirement. Surprisingly, even though he's not really a true defensive end, but surprisingly, Marcus Golden is still out there on the market as well. And I feel like he would be a really nice pickup. At this stage of free agency, he would really be, you know, a nice bargaining chip for the Falcons. But, you know, he's moving on. He's going to help that Cleveland team. That Cleveland team is young on defense, but they're very skilled. But they can use a veteran voice in the locker room. And I think that's what he can provide for them. So, you know, I wish him the best of luck. But, you know, I think there's a plan that's still being put in place by the front office here.
Yeah, Robert Kelly also mentions Everson Griffin as another name that's out there. So, I mean, yeah, Marcus Golden, Everson Griffin, both guys that would be awesome to see in a Falcons uniform. Thanks for mentioning that, Robert. And shout out to everyone watching tonight. Solaire, Tyler Raines, everybody, Devin Seege. I'm probably forgetting some of you guys, but thanks for tuning in the midst of the quarantine. We appreciate hanging out with you guys. And if you guys don't mind throwing a like at the episode, that helps other people find it. And if you're not already subscribed, that is also big nice for us and also for you, because then you don't have to scan Twitter for the updates every time we go live. YouTube will just remind you. It's very nice. So check that out. But yeah, so for me, I do think the Falcons aren't done in free agency, but I think that based on what we know they've signed in terms of like cash value of deals, like we know they've signed Tyler Davison and they signed Dante Fowler to a $16 million a year contract, and they've signed Todd Gurley to something between $5 and $6 million allegedly. Over the cap had them at 13 point something million in space after the restructures and after the money from the Freeman cut. So that money, I suspect, is probably all spoken for at this point with the Fowler deal, the Gurley deal, the Davison deal, etc. So to me, I don't know that they're really – the reason I think that they weren't able to kind of bring back Crawford or Clayborn is because they're basically up against the cap at this point. However, they're going to be getting, almost $11 million back after June 1st for Trufant's cut. So I do suspect that they'll be active kind of in that late period free agency after the draft, during camp, all that sort of thing. They're probably hoping someone shakes loose that they really want. Obviously, that's a risky strategy because you don't know who's going to be available at the end of trading camp. Ray Edwards, hell yeah. But yeah, I mean, what do you guys think about their financial situation? Yeah, go ahead.
They're probably prioritizing the draft first and seeing how large of a draft class they're going to need or have or walk away with, because that cap space that they're going to get with Trufant's number coming off the books in post June 1st, it's enough to sign a rookie class.
Oh yeah,
but
yeah.
They may not need that $10 million if they get like a 5-man class or something like that. So
right.
I think they're prioritizing the draft first. They're going to go in, they're going to see what they can do, see if they could possibly maneuver around, trade up, trade down, and then whatever they have, wherever they're sitting after that, I think that's going to, determine whether or not they're going to go after a veteran guy in free agency.
Yeah. And like the cap space is tight, and like Eric said, like they're going to use Trufant's money to pay the draft class. Depending on how big the class is or how early the picks are, etc., that can make a big difference about how much it costs. There's also this new, veteran salary benefit that's going around, which can kind of lower, I guess, the cap hit of a lot of these lower tier veteran signings. Like we're seeing some vets sign for like $1 million, $1.5 million, but their actual cap hit gets reduced to like the veteran minimum, which is like, 700,000, 800,000, whatever their accrued experience is. And that can save the team, a little bit of cap space here and there. Also important to remember the top 51 rule is in effect until the end of camp. So the draft class, like technically they do have to pay everyone in the draft class by the time that, the camp is over, but they only have to pay the top 51 before that. So some of the draft picks, the later ones especially, end up like not actually counting against the cap until later because, they're only making like $200,000 a year or something like that. So, but either way, they're going to be tight. Maybe they'll have some space after June 1st to play around with. If someone breaks free, we'll see. But at this point, I mean, the roster is probably, outside of a few little signings here and there, it probably is what it is. So that kind of brings us to our main topic tonight, which is looking at the Falcons' biggest positional needs going into the draft, now that we know who they've gotten in free agency. And it has shuffled a bit. I think we kind of all went into this with the glaring need being edge. Vic Beasley, we were all like, he's gone. And then they announced, yeah, he gone. So that made the need very big. They don't necessarily have a lot there other than Beasley. And then they signed Dante Fowler and decided that actually we are going to pay Alan Bailey all this money. So now all of a sudden, maybe edge not as big of a need as we thought. They also decided to, make a big move. Maybe you heard about it. Cut Desmond Trufant. So that created a giant hole in the cornerback room that we now have to deal with. We talked about some of the other players that have left in free agency as well. So I feel like I'm just going to go around the horn and kind of let everyone get their opinion in about what they think the top need now is, regardless of value or whatever, just what you would do at 16 right now. If you had the Falcons pick, what would be your number one target in terms of need? So I'm going to go in order of how your pictures are presented on my screen right now. So Adnan, you're going to go first.
Well, I'm honored.
Yes.
First of all. It would make the most sense to go cornerback first round, because I think as of right now, our cornerback depth chart, because you have Kendall Sheffield as your cornerback who covers slot guys. I think as of right now, Bleedy Ray Wilson will be your starting cornerback if the season started tomorrow without the draft.
Yeah. And
I like Bleedy Ray Wilson. I think he's a solid backup, but he's not a starter in the NFL in 2020. It's hard for me. If you were like putting it in my hands, I really want a defensive end too. And in a perfect world, we'd have the first pick and the second overall pick, and we'd come away with everything that we want. But
right.
We're Falcons fans, so we know that nothing that we want is what we'll get. I'd go with cornerback first round, someone like an CJ Henderson, my mistake. That's a name that's being thrown around a lot right now, and as a result, we know that the Falcons will not get him because that never happens. Whoever's thrown around the most, the Falcons never take that player.
Sean Witherspoon.
Well,
remember Sean Witherspoon.
Well, that was pre-Dan Quinn, though. Dan Quinn makes it his mission to completely do something that nobody's expecting in the draft.
Beasley was the one exception there.
Yeah,
too.
Beasley was.
That one was
exception.
pretty obvious. Yeah.
Was it? Because I think the name that was thrown around the most was Fowler.
Yeah, but he got. I think it was. You're right. It was Fowler, and Fowler made the most sense. But he did eventually get Fowler. But Fowler got taken, so then it was like, oh, okay. But
I think with Beasley, I don't think people were expecting him to be there at 8. I think Fowler ended up dominating the latter portion. He ended up just climbing the draft charts as time went on, and Vic Beasley ended up falling to 8. I didn't expect Beasley to be there, but I think Brandon Sheriff, the guard, him being taken by the Redskins was the big surprise, which ended up dropping Beasley. But for me personally, I'd take Henderson the first round, and then the second round, I'd target possibly a trade up to get someone like like an Epinesa, because it looks like Epinesa will possibly fall to the second round because of his poor testing. So that would be my ideal world.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool for sure. I'd be into that. All right, Dave, you're next up on the picture-o-rama. What's your take on the Falcons' top need heading into the draft right now?
So on paper, I think it's cornerback. I think it's obviously need a guy who can be, the nominal number one. But I also think this is the rare year where if they pick somebody at defensive tackle, if it's Kinlaw, if they pick an edge rusher, if they pick even a linebacker, cornerback, safety might be a little rich for my blood. But no matter who it is, I think they have to just get impact defenders, right? Like it's been this way for too long where they've hit on like 2, maybe 3 guys, and you're surrounding them with kind of middle of the road talent. And I just think that approach has not yielded any fruit after all these years, and just changing the defensive coordinator is not going to do anything. So,
right.
It may sound wishy-washy, but I really want them to go in, to quote the immortal D. Orlando Ledbetter, and go BPA, right, on defense. Like, get the best guy available, because you have needs, with releasing Trufant, with the defensive line situation being what it is, with linebacker being thin, you have needs at every level. So just get the best guy. Anyone you get who's a top-tier talent is going to help so much more than you trying to just stuff somebody in there that is the position you need the most. There's no question they have to come out of this draft class with another, high-quality cornerback. But if that happens round 1, if it happens round 3, I think that doesn't matter as much as just getting the talent.
Yeah, I totally understand that. Particularly, this is a deep cornerback class too, so like they could decide to wait and possibly get a good starter in round 2 as well. So that's an option. Eric, I know you've got takes about the draft for sure. So where are you leaning right now with that first round pick?
Like Dave and Adnan mentioned, I think defensive best player available is the best route, and I think that's what they're looking at. But I still will hold on to my outlook, thinking that they're hoping that best defensive player available is a defensive lineman. I think they rather grab one there than grab a corner. But if Henderson is the best defensive player on the board, I guess they may quite possibly go that route. But yeah, I think to me, defensive line is the top need of the draft for them right now. Then I would say corner. Then I would say linebacker. We're starting to hear some rumors about Antoine Winfield Jr. being tied to the Falcons as a possible first-round pick at 16 overall, which would definitely shake up things a little bit, and it would definitely be kind of sort of part of the draft history between Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitroff, just kind of doing something a little unorthodox and going their own path. But they need playmakers, like Dave said. They just need defensive playmakers. They need guys that can come in right now and that is able to adapt a little quickly. So I would not be surprised if we don't see them go the small school route or the raw athlete route, because they really don't have time for experimenting right now. They need to win now. So they may start getting some, college juniors, college seniors that are ready to go from day one. So, like I said, I think the top 3 needs right now are all on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, definitely agree with you there. I think we're all kind of in favor of maybe a defensive player. Evan, your take on the biggest needs for the Falcons heading into this draft. What are you leaning at round 1?
I mean, Eric just made great points. Just to be different, I'm going to say linebacker, just because right now I'm looking at who we actually have on our roster. And, Deion Jones, he's phenomenal. Not worried about him. But then it's like we have Foy, who, he graded well, like on PFF and stuff, but he's going to have to get, they're going to have to get him more involved now that we've lost Devondre Campbell. Leroy Reynolds is back, but he was available for a reason, I think. Edmund Robinson, he was the guy from the XFL, I believe. I don't know much about him. And then there's Ahmad Thomas. I think he was on the practice squad, or maybe he was on the roster. I don't know.
He did eventually make the roster last year. Yeah.
Yeah,
eventually.
so it's like, but I mean, like at the same time, I understand, we've always wanted an edge rusher. We seriously need help at corner now that we got rid of Trufant because, I mean, how comfortable are you going to feel with Bleedy and Oliver, who Oliver didn't even grade well on PFF too. And then Jordan Miller, he's suspended, I believe, for like 4 games. Sheffield, I mean, he looked good on special teams, but you're really hoping he takes another step. He's like probably the quickest dude on the team aside from Julio. But yeah, I mean, I can understand any position. So I'm going to just take the easy route and go, best player available on this. But I think linebacker is definitely somewhere they need to address still because I don't feel confident with just that group that we have currently.
Yeah.
One thing that I'd add. Oh, go ahead, Derek. Go ahead.
I don't want the fans to think that that round 1 is the only place they can get a cornerback 1. Because this is a very deep cornerback class, and you can easily get a guy in round 2 that's able to start. Bryce Hall comes to mind. AJ Terrell from Clemson comes to mind. Damon Arnett from Ohio State comes to mind. Those guys, Jalen Johnson from Utah, those guys are ready right now. So I've been hearing that a lot, that they have to get a cornerback 1, and that cornerback 1 can only come in the first round. That's not true. You can look across the league. There are guys that are drafted. Chidobe Awuzie from Dallas is CB1 right now in Dallas, and he's a second-round pick. So that's it. You don't have to get your primary corner in the first round this year.
No, the depth is something that's really impressive. David, you have a point there you want to make too?
The only thing I'd say is, I think, too, that we might be underestimating how much the team likes Oliver. I know he had a rough first half of the year, arguably a rough overall year, but you have to remember that they did call him Young Blanket for a reason. And it wasn't because he keeps people warm. It's because they like his coverage skills. So, Oliver is somebody, too, that I think if you see the team, hold off on taking a corner and people are going to be surprised, probably not happy about that, he would be the reason that they'd be doing that. They'd be looking for him to make that third-year leap. I'm not saying that's necessarily a wise choice, but I do think it's something to look out for.
Yeah, I mean, they clearly like Oliver better than the consensus. And like when I scouted Oliver coming out, I mean, I did think he could be a future cornerback 1. I mean, I think he has that level of talent. Certainly has the length. Just had a rough year last year. But that doesn't mean he can't ever be quality corner, so we'll see how it goes for him this year. But yeah, I mean, if they do wait on corner, that's pretty much them saying, oh yeah, we're totally comfortable with Oliver being our cornerback 1, and also I guess comfortable with Bleedy Ray Wilson being our cornerback 2, because that's what we're looking at right now. So in round 1, like you guys mentioned a lot of the names, and I kind of echo basically what you guys said. I mean, I think we're all kind of on the same page here with the basic needs. And cornerback probably looks like the biggest need on paper, and it is. But defensive tackles there too. Like we mentioned earlier, there's really not a pass rusher next to Grady Jarrett right now. It's Grady Jarrett and Tyler Davison, who's a good run stuffer, but he can't rush the passer. There's Deidrin Sanat, who the hell knows what's going on with Deidrin Sanat. I mean,
is he rehabbing? Is he...
I don't know. I mean, who knows?
I don't even think he exists at this point.
Yeah, Deidrin Sanat is a myth.
But he's more of a theoretical concept, yeah.
Yeah.
He did have off-season surgery, right? Like I thought.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I think he did.
He didn't play in any games. Like I'm trying to put that together.
Yeah, who knows, man? Maybe he was working too hard in the weight room, and just doing some of those crazy things. You're jumping around on stuff. But like defensive tackle's definitely up there. So like, I guess I'll give you this quick theoretical before we move on to some later needs. So let's say 16 rolls around, the Falcons decide that they're not willing to trade down. So they're sitting at 16. They have 3 choices. They've got Javon Kinlaw, the defensive tackle. They've got C.J. Henderson, the corner, and they've got Kayvon Chaisson, the edge defender from LSU, all sitting there. We'll go reverse order this time. Just tell me who you think you'd go for and why you would lean that way. So, Evan, I'll let you kick it off.
I mean, I get the chase on thing. I'm obviously not a draft expert or anything compared to like the rest of these guys, but I really want them to have an edge rusher. So it's kind of like I kind of hope they go the chase on route. But at the same time, the Javon Kinlaw, I think I said his name correctly. I'm not sure. That intrigues me because how could you not want to see somebody dominant next to Grady Jarrett? Just like thinking of the potential. I mean, it opens up so many possibilities. Like for all of a sudden, some of the edge rushers we currently have. It's not going to make tack any worse. So I kind of want them to go defensive line. And then, as Eric said, there's, plenty of corners they can look at later on. I'm just kind of tired of not having a pass rush.
Yeah, I totally understand that one. And before the Fowler thing, it was like, oh, if Chaseon's there, they're taking Chaseon. And now it's changed a little bit. But yeah, I totally understand the want for that. Like it would be nice to have an abundance of edge talent for once and not always be scraping the barrel and hoping for X, Y, and Z stars to align for the pass rush to be good. So I definitely understand the leaning towards Chaseon there. Eric, of those three, who are you leaning right now?
I would go Chaseon as well. As Evan pointed out, this whole pass rushing thing they've been putting Band-Aids over it for the past 5, 6, 7 years, to be quite honest with you. And it's time to shore that up. Stop getting guys that are just going to be, decent enough to provide a play or two and get elite at that aspect of the defense. I like that Dante Fowler. I like the signing of Dante Fowler, but I don't want them to approach the season with Dante Fowler as the primary pass rusher because to me, that's a recipe for disaster. So I will go Chaseon here. And I think they can still get creative a little bit at the 3 tech with the guys that they do have from Kaminsky to Bailey. And maybe they still have Sanat in the formula this year. I don't know. I think that would depend a little bit on how they draft interior defensive linemen. I think we would kind of go forward thinking like, okay, well maybe Sanat is part of the plans this year, but Chaseon is the guy for me. You can't teach speed, you can't teach athleticism, and in a division where you got 2 40-year-old plus quarterbacks and another quarterback in the division that tore just about every ligament in his leg and is not that mobile, having that speed on the edge is a treat. It's a definite advantage in my opinion. So yeah. I feel like you gotta get him. You gotta grab him. They missed out on Brian Burns last year.
They did.
Yeah, but he's another Vic Beasley though, Eric.
Yeah.
Every speed rusher is Vic Beasley. This is facts.
Yeah. Is Vic Beasley.
Every speed rusher ever. Yep.
He played in the ACC. He's short.
Even though he had almost as many sacks as Vic Beasley and he only played half the season. But hey, it is. I don't know.
He's already a bust, Eric, because he looks like Vic Beasley.
Right, he was a bust before the draft even happened.
All right, Dave, you're up. Who are you leaning right now with those three guys all available at 16?
I'm going with Kinlaw. And part of this is a little difficult because I think they might see Kaminsky's future at defensive tackle. Jason Butt at The Athletic was talking about that being the plan for him long term today. And I also think, they have Davison, they have Jarrett, they have Sanat, which hopefully he's going to get to play this year. But to me, Kinlaw is just such a talent. And the thought of Jarrett and Kinlaw, especially with the group of quarterbacks that's in the NFC South now, I know that's short-term thinking because none of these guys are necessarily going to be starting in 2021. But all of them, given their arm strength, given the relative strengths of the offensive lines the Falcons are going against, being able to tear teams apart up the middle would be a huge difference maker for them. And I just think it's something that the Falcons have needed for a long time. You look at going back to Jonathan Babineau, they were just never quite able to get him somebody who was a great complement up the middle for him. So having Kinlaw next to Jarrett, that's exciting because Jarrett, we already know the caliber of player he is. Just giving him that extra little bit of help would be such a huge difference maker. So, marriage of talent, marriage of need, and you figure out the rest later, whether somebody like Kaminsky is going to have to play more defensive end, or you're not going to play Davison as much despite the contract you gave him. Oh well. The Falcons went into last year starting Carpenter for no real reason, because they spent money on him. So the Falcons shouldn't go in thinking, we've got a bunch of guys, so we're all set. That's how I'd look at it.
Yeah. Good reasoning there as well. All right, Adnan, where are you leaning? So far, we've got 2 Chaisson, 1 Kinlaw. So where are you at?
So I know I said everything about taking corner and like Henderson. Throw all of that out if Kinlaw's there at 16, because I truly think that if Kinlaw is there, I think that would be true BPA and filling a need at the same time, because basically for all of the same stuff that Dave said, Kinlaw is just looks like a special talent. And pairing him next to Grady Jarrett along the interior of the defensive line will give the Atlanta Falcons an interior push that they haven't had, and I don't even know how long. And it's something that I remember Mike Smith always tried to go toward, but the problem with Mike Smith is he completely sacrificed the edge 100% because sacks don't matter. And we can just push up from the middle. But like Dave said, for this group of quarterbacks in the NFC South, all of their games are predicated on stepping up in the pocket, and to have Grady Jarrett and Javon Kinlaw in the middle being able to completely disrupt that pocket will I think reap benefits for the Falcons in games against the Saints, Panthers, and Buccaneers. It will be harder. Grady Jarrett demands a double team at all times. And then Javon Kinlaw, if he can get off to a very good start, you have these 2 guys demanding so much attention from the offensive line that it should make it easier for our edge rushers as well, being Takk McKinley and Dante Fowler, to be able to have a lot more one-on-one matchups with the O linemen. And maybe this is the year where things finally click for Takk if he does have that support alongside the rest of the defensive line. I just think having a D line of Jarrett, Kinlaw, Dante Fowler, and Takk McKinley rushing the passer on that 4-man rush on third downs, I think it will achieve Dan Quinn's dream that he's had since the beginnings when he got here, of being able to have a serious pass rush, rushing 4 players, and having the rest of the defense being able to drop in coverage, and just having I think the pass rush would be incredibly formidable as it's been since Dan Quinn's been here.
Yeah, I definitely like the sound of that. It sounds pretty exciting to me, and to me, it would be Kinlaw, because I think he's a better talent than Chaisson. Back when we didn't have Fowler, it would have been Chaisson 100% of the time because they just didn't have an edge there. How the edge group looks now with Fowler, Takk, Alan Bailey, John Kaminsky, Steven Means, Austin Larkin. They've got a bunch of guys there. Now, let's not pretend that Austin Larkin, Steven Means, John Kaminsky are all impact starters, but those are all solid guys. So they have some depth there. Alan Bailey's a good 5-tech run stuffer. So that group is okay right now. They really could use that third impact guy, but I suspect the team will view that as more of a day 2 need than a round 1 need at this point. So I would lean Kinlaw, but let me play devil's advocate for drafting CJ Henderson, because I do think at the end of the day that's who they're going to end up with at 16. I think it's unlikely that Kinlaw will be there. I would say there's about a 50% chance that Kinlaw will be there if we're trying to be rosy with it. So CJ Henderson would provide the team with a bona fide cornerback 1 talent. He would give them a huge boost in terms of that secondary. He's better than all those round 2 corners. He is. He's got some. His big issue with me is how good of a tackler is he? But again, NFL teams generally don't care as long as you get the guy down. And I'll say that CJ Henderson's tackling is not pretty, but he generally gets the guy down at least. but he's long. He's super athletic. He checks all the boxes for Quinn in a corner. And the analytics do say that drafting corner in round 1 is safer than edge or defensive tackle in terms of hit rate. Round 1 corners typically perform better than those other positions in their first year as well. So the analytics would also support the Falcons going after that corner there. However, I would say that the depth at edge is nowhere near as good as corner. The depth at defensive tackle, fairly strong early on day 2, but it falls off quick. So if they miss, they don't, like if they pass on Kinlaw and they're hoping for someone to be there in the round 2 range, that might work out. But, once you get past guys like Gallimore, Ross Blacklock, Justin Matabuke, I mean, you're getting, like, once those guys are gone, the pass rushers available at defensive tackle fall off, unless you like Raekwon Davis. I don't. Like, if you can't produce at Alabama, surrounded by stars, you can't produce in the NFL. I'm sorry. So I'm all the way out on that. So
I know we say this every year, but trading down.
That would be nice. Yeah.
That won't happen. Thomas Dimitroff, their GM.
It probably won't happen. But ironically, the biggest needs on the team are arguably the best positions in the entire draft. Defensive line, cornerback. This is an ideal draft to say, hey, you know what? Let's trade down with Philly. Philly wants to get a receiver. Let's swap picks and, pick up an extra second or third. And that way you can be able – to me, if you pick up an extra second, you can address defensive line, linebacker, and corner the first 3 picks in 2 rounds. Boom.
Wouldn't it be the greatest thing in the world if in the year that he's going to lose his job if they lose, Dimitroff actually traded down? Like, that would be exactly the weirdest thing that could happen. So
Yeah.
I like it.
It'll be Dimitroff-esque. Like, oh, yeah, this is the time he would do it. He'll trade down when his job is on the line.
Yeah.
When you least expect it. Yeah.
It will be a sign of the apocalypse. We already have the virus and the pandemic going around.
We got the locusts.
They're coming.
And
This is a worthy draft for it, man. I mean, Minnesota is hurting right now. Minnesota has a boatload of picks. They have I think it's close to 12 picks.
They have a lot.
They lost maybe about 5 or 6 starters on defense, so they're a prime trade-up candidate, in my opinion.
Yeah. I did a mock. What was it, last week, where I had the Falcons trading down with Minnesota. Falcons went down to 22. Vikings actually came up to get Andrew Thomas because he fell past the Bucs. The Bucs took Kinlaw. It's like so the Falcons got 2/3. They gave the Vikings their later 4th, and the Vikings gave the Falcons 2/3. So I mean,
the Eagles address defense in free agency. So like I said, they need a wideout. They need some help because Deshaun Jackson's not getting any younger.
Mm-hmm.
Alshon Jeffrey is banged up, and you're really depending on Zach Ertz right now as your primary receiver.
I'm not saying it wouldn't make complete sense, especially like if you have someone like a Ruggs who's there at 16,
Right.
or maybe even a CD Lamb. Then you can really hold Philly's feet to the fire and try and extract as much value as possible. I'm always for trading down every single year. If you want to trade down, absolutely give yourself more swings of the bat, give yourselves more opportunities. It's what the Patriots do all the time.
I don't care how the roster looks. I don't care how the draft is. I'm never against trading down.
Absolutely. And but please excuse my language, but I'm sure Thomas Dimitroff would rather shit on his hands and clap than trade down in any draft. So, I mean, I'll believe it when I see it. I just don't believe it.
Oh man, there go our 2020 credentials. Thanks, Adnan.
The worst part is that now I have a mental picture.
Yeah, exactly.
I wanted no part of that.
Yeah, so I did. Yeah, he did warn us at least, so you guys could cover your ears. Yeah.
I did give you guys that 1 second of leeway time.
Yep. But
Yeah.
No, so I mean, to be fair, I know some people were like, "Oh no, Kevin, don't pick a cornerback." Like, I clarified this with I would pick Kinlaw if Kinlaw was there because I think he's the best player there. And I think defensive tackle is the second biggest need. So to me, that trumps the need at cornerback. But there are reasons they could take a corner that makes sense.
Yeah. I wouldn't be discouraged
if
they walk away with Christian Fulton.
Now, if they took Jerry Jeudy at 16, because
as long as they get a defensive playmaker at 16, I will be fine. I'd rather it be a defensive lineman, but if they were to walk away with Christian Fulton or C.J. Henderson at 16, okay, cool. We'll roll with it. But
Yeah.
just please, for God's sake, like
Cesar
stop.
Ruiz, center.
Yeah, like come on. Why?
Yeah.
You guys are.
I can see that happening, honestly.
I could too. They got to fix. Look. Arthur Blank said he wanted the offensive line fixed. They still haven't done it. So.
You
But
guys are missing the big picture here, though. If you draft Jerry Jeudy, you can move Russell Gage back to corner.
Hey, there you go. That's some galaxy brain plans right there.
Or we can play Jerry Jeudy at corner.
I can't.
Okay.
He knows all the routes. Yeah.
I can't remember whose mock draft it was, but I did read a mock that had the Falcons taking CeeDee Lamb at 16.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I put it in the trash. Yeah, I mean,
because it's fun.
it is fun. Think about that wide receiver core, yo. Yeah.
Sometimes in reality, to all the fans that are watching right now, sometimes value makes no sense in actuality. Like, yeah, CeeDee Lamb may have tremendous value at 16, but it makes no earthly sense whatsoever at drafting. Like, sometimes you can overvalue a player. Like, I get it, but no. Like, it's
No, if CD's still there at 16, you take a bounty for some of these teams that are desperate to trade up for him, because there are teams that want him. I guarantee it.
At 15, you call Howie Roseman and say, "Hey, man, how much do you want for CD? Or what are you going to give me for CD?"
Yeah, the Vikings are also calling, and like 3 other teams.
Texans
So
probably need a receiver now.
yeah, everybody. Yeah, so it's like, hey, I got 3 teams on the line. You know, Eagles, how many picks are you giving me? Or Vikings, how many picks are you giving me? You know.
You know what? I would call Bill O'Brien because he might offer 3 firsts.
Yeah, I would call the Texans first. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'll give you 3 firsts and just say what?
Yep.
So.
Yep.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. He calls
Bill
the.
O'Brien could go in the grocery store looking for a pound of chicken and come out with 2 beans. Not smart.
Yep. Oh man, yeah. No, Bill O'Brien would call the Falcons and offer like 3 first-round picks before CeeDee Lamb was even on the clock, and the Falcons would be like, "Okay, let's agree to this trade already." And then CeeDee Lamb's gone, and he's already agreed to the trade.
And Thomas Dimitroff will say no because he just does not know how to trade back, even if they offer the house.
Yeah,
I
he
am
like
set in stone on this.
Yeah, Thomas Dimitroff just all of a sudden just blacks out as soon as the trade down is offered. Like he just can't even hear or comprehend that such a thing exists.
What pick are you?
It depends.
Hang up.
It depends on what phone Bill O'Brien calls. Like if he calls Dimitroff's burner phone, then yeah, he might say, "Okay, no, I'm not interested." But if he calls like the office phone that's sitting in front of Quinn may say yeah. But again, it depends on what phone he calls.
Actually,
we all know Dimitroff has numerous cell phone numbers. Right?
He does. Yeah.
Oh, no question.
In that scenario, after Dimitroff hangs up and Dan Quinn asks what was offered, and Dimitroff tells him, I'm sure they'll knock Dimitroff out. They'll tie him up in the broom closet, and Quinn will frantically call Bill O'Brien back and reoffer that trade.
Yeah.
Or they'll have that awkward moment in the war room where Dimitroff's phone is like in the ceiling and he forgot he left it on vibrate and it's vibrating.
What is that?
Oh, nothing.
I don't know.
And it's not even a cell phone. It's not even a real cell phone. Dimitroff somehow went MacGyver and just like took a banana peel and a light bulb and created a cell phone out of it.
Yeah.
I like where we take these things.
I definitely like it.
Yeah.
I would be honored if Thomas Dimitroff ever watched even 1 second of these programs, but I'm pretty convinced that we don't have much to worry about there. So,
although he is 14,
yes,
so maybe.
Yes, that's true.
It's not like he's out,
Well, if I put his name in the description of the video, he'd definitely watch it. But
true.
Dimitroff, if you are watching, put it out there. Got a little job opening or something like that for an assistant.
If you do, like, we've been accused of being too positive, but like, if you want to slip us some cash to actually be too positive, I'm open to that. I'm a blogger, not a journalist. Okay, so I don't have any code to follow.
I'm just gonna say,
is the next great starting.
Yes.
You shut your mouth, Jade.
I will not. That money is speaking.
Yeah.
I will just say, if Thomas Dimitroff does watch this show at all, I'm sure he doesn't even want us on the grounds of Flowery Branch, let alone for us to be working for the Falcons. I'm sure he will file a restraining order against each and every one of us.
Yes.
And the funny thing about that is we are probably more balanced and more positive on most of his moves than most people. It's just
but
not fun to be a GM out there.
Yeah,
He
it's not.
he heard us talking about trading down, and he immediately closed the laptop.
Yeah, he was like, I can't hear that. That doesn't exist. Yeah. All right, so I know some people are asking about some other potential positions early. One of the ones that's been mentioned a lot is linebacker as like a dark horse candidate at 16. I personally don't really think they view the need as that big, but what do you guys think about the potential of like Kenneth Murray or Patrick Queen at 16?
A lot has to happen if that's their pick at 16.
Yeah.
You probably have to see Chason, Kinlaw, Henderson, and maybe all going. Then maybe they'll go after Kenneth Murray at 16. I wouldn't mind it. Again, trading down for Kenneth Murray would be okay. I would be fine with that. But
Unacceptable.
at 16, a lot has to happen at that point if Murray is the pick.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else got linebacker in the first round takes?
I'm expecting anything. No, I'm just going to say I am fully expecting the unexpected because that's literally everything we've gotten in the first round since Dan Quinn's been here, other than the Vic Beasley drafting. So, I mean, I will not be shocked if we go linebacker in the first round, even if someone like a Chason is there at 16 or a Henderson is there at 16.
I'm honestly getting Rashaan Evans vibes, and I keep hearing about Antoine Winfield. And we all know we kind of blew off the Rashaan Evans rumors when we first heard them a couple years ago. But as we got closer to the draft, and even after the draft, it was reported that it was true. Like, he really was one of their targets in the first round. And when it comes to Winfield, I'm getting those type of vibes. Like, it's just ironic. As soon as April 1st hits, we start hearing like, hey, Winfield had FaceTime meetings with the team, and like I said, I'm starting to get those vibes right now that he may be in play at 16.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, but taking a safety at 16 when you have three starting safeties on the roster, to me, is just so questionable.
But here's how you do it. You change stuff up, right?
It does provide a lot of flexibility because, okay, to break it down this way, you can take Winfield. You can have Winfield. If you're going to a lot of cover two looks, you have Winfield and KZ as your deep safeties. You can drop down Keanu as your weak side linebacker and still maybe have, Allen as your nickel corner at times. You can get creative with a guy like Winfield on the field. He's a playmaker. He's not really stuck at one position. He reminds me so much of, I don't want to compare him, but he has Tyrann Mathieu traits where you really can plug him in at, free safety, possibly strong safety, depending on the opponent, maybe even a little slot corner here and there. So I can see why they would make the pick, and I can see what they can do with him. They can definitely get real flexible in the second. That will also mean that Sheffield and Oliver are probably the starting.
Yeah. That would be, that's what I'm saying. Like, would Antoine Winfield be really cool to see in the Falcons defense? Yeah. Would he provide a lot of value for them? I mean, yes, at 16, the value, not good, but we already know this team gives absolutely zero Fs about value. I mean, they took Chris Lindstrom at 14 with, like, a bunch of other good players on the board. They don't care about positional value one bit. So, it's definitely possible. All right. I know we promised last time we would talk about Tom Brady being on the Bucs because we haven't done it yet. So we have to talk about that because that's a big deal. Tom Brady did, of course, join the Bucs. In case you didn't hear about that. So, what do you guys think about that signing? Do you think that actually moves the needle for that Bucs team? Do you think having the more conservative Brady versus the go for broke, I'm gonna throw 5 picks, Jameis, actually improves that offense a lot? Does it improve it a little? We'll start from the middle this time. So Eric, you get to go first.
I think it makes them a definite playoff contender, Super Bowl contender. I don't know. We'll see. I still need to see what they're going to do with that offensive line. The offensive line is pretty mediocre, especially at both tackle spots. And they will probably go tackle early on in the first round. If it plays out right, the top 4 tackles will be drafted by the time that pick comes up. So yeah, they might be stuck a little bit. But Brady in the division, definitely interesting. I will say this: we're probably going to see a ton of Bucks primetime games, and every Bucks Falcons game is going to get 23 mentions. I'm already regretting it.
Oh yeah. Yep. Hello, darkness, my old friend. Yes.
It's a different team, man. It's a different game. This was like 3 years ago. Like, stop talking. No, we're going to keep talking about 23, even though Brady's on the Bucks.
Yes. It's because, Brady was there. It's like, oh, look, you remember the last time Brady played against the
Yeah. And then the douchebag watched the replay the other day and then posted it on Instagram. Brady.
I mean, to be fair, if I was the quarterback of the team that came back 28-3 down the Super Bowl, I'd be watching that game every day.
Yeah, I probably would. But
if the Falcons just came back and I wasn't even playing in it, I'd be watching that game every day if the roles were reversed.
Yeah. I mean, if the Falcons, held on to win, I'd probably watch that game every day too. But
No, yeah.
I'm getting a little lightheaded if we can stop that.
Yeah, sorry. I'm gonna black out soon. Yeah.
Dave's nose is about to start bleeding.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that it makes them better, but we've never seen Tom Brady without Bill Belichick, ever. So I think there needs to be a lot more. Let's wait and see with it. I mean, Bruce Arians is a very good coach, so it's not like he's going from Bill Belichick to Dan Quinn as his head coach. So, there's.
I wonder how much of the offense he's going to curtail because of Brady.
I mean, he'll have to curtail a lot of it because Brady cannot throw deep anymore.
Yeah, that's a vertical passing offense. That's a vertical passing scheme, and Brady is still one of arguably the greatest ever, but I don't fear his deep arm anymore.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how or what is adjusted in that offense.
Yeah, it will be, and it's I suspect that O.J. Howard will be a much bigger piece. I suspect that, and it's interesting because Mike Evans is really fast and big. He kind of excels going downfield. So Evans not necessarily getting to be used that way. That's probably going to hurt him. I think Chris Godwin can do it all. I mean, Evans can probably play more of a possession role too. I mean, he's so large, but
I think Godwin is going to have 100 catches.
Oh yeah, Godwin, that dude is really good. That's who I'd be the most worried about if I was the Falcons. But yeah, I mean,
I think they're gonna. Oh, sorry.
No, go for it. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I think they're actually going to be better. I mean, you forget. It's easy to forget just because of how their season ended, but they finished 7-9, same as the Falcons. I think the biggest thing is Winston no longer being there, having the 30 interceptions. Brady's had fewer interceptions, compared to what Winston had this past season, since in the last 4 years. That's how much he turned the ball over last year. But I think what'll be interesting is Brady. I mean, when you look at his win-loss record throughout his career, it's amazing. He's had 2 seasons where he hasn't had 10 or more wins, and one of them was because of where he got injured. I think he tore his ACL or whatever. I mean, you look at his overall losses. The Bucks have had more losses in the last 5 seasons, or not 5 seasons, since 2014. Compared to his overall career, it's if for some reason it goes off the rails there, it's going to be a disaster because this dude is used to just winning. Yeah. But I think it's only a benefit on term. Maybe he's not going to throw 30 to 40 touchdowns, but I think they're banking on he's not going to turn the ball over as much, because if Winston didn't turn the ball over as much last year, they could have probably been a 9-7 team, or 10-6, depending on. I didn't watch obviously Buccaneer games, but interceptions will lose you games, and he threw them all the time. It seemed
especially when you
we
throw
saw
30
in the last game.
He could have thrown nearly 50 interceptions.
Oh yeah, he had 15 dropped or something. Yeah.
Yeah, 20. His opponents had 21 drops.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
51 picks he could have thrown last year.
Yep. Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Brady's got some targets. The Patriots last year were criticized because he had Edelman, who people love to talk about all the time because it's Patriots. But, I mean, that's no comparison with Mike Evans, Godwin. I don't know. O.J. Howard, depending on how they use him. Cameron Brate, I believe, is back. So, I mean, it's only an upgrade for him.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Full respect to the Bucs receivers. I think both Godwin and Mike Evans are top 10 wide receivers in the NFL. I think Mike Evans is a better wide receiver than Michael Thomas. I just had to get that one in there.
Yeah.
I'm not scared of Tom Brady at all. The old man will be 43 years old before the season starts, and his career has started to fall off that cliff a little bit. We saw it a little bit last year. He was not the same as he was before, and players don't tend to get better when they get older, especially when they leave the greatest head coach in NFL history, in my personal opinion. Tom Brady, I think that Bucs team could be a little better because you don't have Jameis Winston's erratic play, throwing all those picks. Bruce Arians said at the end of the season when they asked him, "Oh, could you win with any quarterback?" And he said, "Oh, if we could win with this quarterback, we could win with any quarterback." So God love Bruce Arians for him being so strong on the mic. But I think the Bucs, as in better, I think they'll be 8-8 instead of 7-9 this year. I understand Tom Brady's legacy. I think he's the greatest ever, but 43-year-old Tom Brady does not strike fear into my heart the same way that 41-year-old Drew Brees won't strike fear into my heart this year. I think Matt Ryan's going to be the best quarterback in the division, and he's getting very disrespected because all those odds that are coming out have the Falcons more likely to be fourth in the division than first in the division. Right now, they're expected to finish behind this Bucs and the Saints. So I think personally we'll prove them wrong, or the Falcons will prove them wrong this year. And just one point to make about the Falcons and the Bucs this year, no matter how good Brady is overall for the Bucs, if he's an upgrade over Jameis Winston, we'll see. There's no way he can play better than how Jameis Winston played against the Atlanta Falcons in his career, because Jameis just played at his highest level whenever the Bucs had to play the Atlanta Falcons. He just dissects Dan Quinn's defense for whatever reason. So, I mean, I'm not worried that much about Tom Brady and the Bucs. I think they could be marginally better, but it doesn't move the needle on them being a playoff team for me at all.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think it could go very well for the Bucs, or it could kind of just fizzle out and kind of just be a mediocre year. But that team is going to play a lot differently in 2020. They're going to be a slower paced offense. It's going to be a lot more dink and dunk, a lot less explosive, and they're going to try to win more with their defense, which was surprisingly good last year, especially against the run. So it's going to be a different look for that Bucs team. We'll see if that translates to more wins or not, but it'll be interesting to see. Another thing that just came up on the timeline, the Cowboys signed Aldon Smith to a 1-year, $4 million deal. So that's a little interesting. He hasn't played football in 5 years, and he got $4 million. That's pretty impressive. So I guess he's healthy. I don't know. I guess he looks good if they're giving him $4 million. So, but that's an interesting one.
Imagine that.
Real quick on Brady. As far as skills goes, he's not the Brady of 10 years ago. That's a definite. But that clutch gene, man, that almost never fades. Unless you're a battered and bruised body at 43 years old, that almost never fades. I look at Joe Montana when Joe Montana went to the Chiefs. Yeah, he wasn't the same physically. He didn't have the skills he had like he was in San Francisco, but Joe still won games because he has that clutch. Mm-hmm. Same goes with Brett Favre. Brett Favre, when he went to Minnesota, we thought he was old. He went to Minnesota, and he won them some games. He went to the Jets that 1 year. He won them some games.
Yep.
It didn't end the way it was supposed to, I guess from their outlook, but he was still able to make the clutch plays when needed. He didn't need to throw the ball deep down the field. Kurt Warner. Mm-hmm. Kurt Warner was old and dusty when he got to Arizona. He took them to the damn Super Bowl.
Yep.
I mean,
it can happen.
He had an MVP year. So, I mean, he may not be the Brady of 10 years ago, but Brady is still clutch. And that is something that, when it comes to certain guys, that almost never fades.
Yeah.
I don't even think he has to be dominant. As I mentioned, the interception, if he throws half as many interceptions, that's only going to make them better, especially if they find out how to get a run game going.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, don't like Jameis threw so many interceptions. It was ridiculous. But let's not also he did throw also 30 touchdowns and like the most passing yards ever in a Buccaneers season. So like while he definitely lost them games, he also won them games. So I don't think it's as much of a you just get rid of the interceptions and that's fine. Like Brady's going to actually have to play well while not throwing interceptions. But everything that he's done in his career up to this point makes us think that he can still play well. Can he play at a really high level enough to make waves in the South? He'll probably get 2 easy wins against the Panthers, and we'll see what happens with the Falcons. It could be 2 easy wins against the Falcons too, depending on if they're in the first half or the second half of the season. But if they play us in the first half, the 2 easy wins. In the second half, though, that Falcons team gets real good. So
if the Falcons still think that Brady is an AFC quarterback when he comes in, they'll fold up like a lawn chair.
Is this the AFC? I forget. Yeah, no, but.
So it will be fun to see them play a team like the Saints, where it's just chaos and you're just cheering for whatever. You just want to see a good game, seeing 2 old guys, who've proved a lot.
And it'll be on Sunday night.
Oh, yeah.
Those will be prime. Both of those will be primetime games, and one of the Falcons Bucks games will be a primetime game too.
Yeah.
Probably the Bucks.
The other thing to think about though too is, obviously. Nobody knows Brady better than I do, because I've watched him from up here all these years, winning all these games. He's not the same guy. But, more than that, what I come back to is 10 out of the last 12 years or whatever it is, the Buccaneers finished in the basement of the NFC South. Their GM drafted Roberto Aguayo in the second round, traded up together. That's still the guy running the team.
Yes.
This is a dumb franchise. So, adding Brady, to me, does not lift them up as high as maybe some people are thinking. So,
yeah,
they need to nail this offseason. They can't just add Brady and be he's a legacy guy. He's going to get us there. I still think he's a good quarterback, but this team has lost a ton of games for years and years and years for a reason. You can't just throw on a legendary quarterback and say, we're going to be good now. I don't think that happens.
I think what they've done in free agency was fair. I think it was good enough for them so far. I mean, they brought back Sue.
Yeah, it's all right.
They tagged Barrett. They didn't let Barrett leave. I believe they brought back Pierre Paul too, right?
Yeah.
So
yes.
that was a defense that they needed a season to iron out the wrinkles a little bit, and as the season went on, that defense did get a little bit better.
They did, yeah.
But I question and I wonder about their offensive line.
Yeah.
There's a sure bet. If there's any sure bet in the draft, that's a sure bet they're probably going to go offensive tackle around. But
yeah,
I kind of wonder a little bit this, bringing in a guy like Brady. Most of my offensive move or most of my offseason free agency moves would have been focused on getting some bodyguards.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, Eric. Like you mentioned it earlier, they're praying that one of those big 4 offensive tackles is there at 14. That's their prayer because they didn't sign anyone. That's not a guarantee. They
can see all 4 gone by pick 12, maybe.
Right.
Maybe even top 2. All 4 gone.
Right. And so then it's exactly. So do they trade up? Do they take the 5th best offensive tackle? Do they wait? Because they can't wait until the second round. They'll all be gone by the time the second round. And then you're relying on Prince Tega-Winogo or something like that to be your starter. That's not going to work. Those guys are good. They have potential. But if you really want an upgrade over DeMar Dotson and Donovan Smith, you're not. That's not it. And the thing about Jameis was that for all his faults, he was a magician at avoiding sacks. The way he was able to get the ball out sometimes, despite being harried by 7 guys, falling to the ground, throwing touchdowns. That was one of the most special things about him, was his way to kind of evade pressure and make plays. Now, he threw interceptions just about as often, but Brady can't do that at all anymore. He cannot run around back there and evade pressure. We saw him get torched by teams that could really pressure. And that Bucs offensive line, if they're not able to get those impact fixes on that offensive line in the draft, that's a significant issue that could hold them back this year. Because Brady can't evade the pressure like Winston can. He just can't. All right. Any final takes, you guys, before we wrap it up here?
Please.
I just want some sports again.
I hope they don't come to the draft.
I don't think they're going to cancel it. It's going to be like online.
It's going to be old school, doing it like from hotel.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm cool with it. Just let it be on time.
They've got to have visual stuff though. Like you can't just be like watching a scroll.
Oh, they'll have highlight packages and stuff, I'm sure. Like they have those queued up and ready.
Yeah,
what they're probably going to omit out of it is having a green room full of players.
Right.
So they're probably going to have first round guys on.
Yeah.
I think you may see essential personnel, maybe one person for each team at a table instead of a table of 3 or 4 or 5 guys.
Right.
No crowd, so it may be like a library. But,
I can't wait to see the ratings because there's nothing to watch.
Oh, they're going to be tremendous.
And it's not even, and we see how the draft is like. Everyone watches a draft every year. Now it's a draft where there's nothing to watch.
Yeah,
it's going to be. I mean, because doesn't like the Masters happen around that time, or isn't there usually something going on? But now it's like there's no baseball, there's no basketball.
Is Wimbledon around that time as well? That's been canceled this year. So I don't. They have no competition. The ratings would be their best.
I'm just gonna say they've resorted to showing NBA 2K games on TV, like literally the players playing video games, and they're showing that they're broadcasting that on TV.
On FS1, they had NASCAR virtual reality. I was flipping channels and I had it on. And I'm like, damn, that looks real. And it was a computer. I mean, Kevin's probably heard of it. It's like iRacing or something like that.
Yeah, it's simulations.
Yeah. But it was like, and then they cut to the race car drivers, and it's like they're just sitting in their room. Yep. It's amazing.
Oh yeah, some of those simulator games are crazy. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think they recently they're doing a Madden thing or some tournament. It's
they're doing a 2K NBA 2K tournament with players.
Yeah, well, with the players representing each team, and I mean that's what we've resorted to. So this year we're gonna have a draft where a player gets selected, and all you'll hear in the background is some golf claps. And that's going to be the highest rated draft maybe ever.
Yeah, just because process of elimination. There's nothing else on TV. But I'm going to enjoy it. Yeah.
There's a real opportunity for them to add like a Boo Goodell button, and if everybody's jamming on it, they're piping the sound in. It'll be just like old times.
Yeah. Oh, and we know how to pipe sound in from Atlanta.
Get a hold of anybody that works in the Falcons department there, as far as pumping up audio.
They'll get Roddy White.
Yeah, the other Roddy White. The other Roddy White. Yeah.
They're like, oh, you need some audio? You need some extra audio? Yeah, we got you.
Yeah.
This organization is scapegoated 2 Roddy Whites.
Well, within 1 year of each other.
I know. It's crazy.
Yep.
I do feel bad for the play. I mean, it's such a small thing to even worry about, considering what all is going on, but it's unfortunate for those guys who work their tail off, for the combine and stuff. They're not going to get that draft day experience. It's just going to, hopefully by next year, the draft's back to normal and everybody's, this is all behind us. But it kind of sucks. They've worked their ass off their whole life to get to this point, and they're not going to get that.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you, Evan, but I'm sure when they get that first NFL check,
oh yeah, definitely.
Their sorrows will be a lot.
They're gonna dry their tears. Yeah.
Dry their tears with money.
Just that we get so many, draft moments. Like not
Aaron
always
Rodgers.
good, but yeah,
that was a wild
one.
one.
They look back at, and there won't really be that at all. So
yeah, it'll be a weird year. It'll be a weird year.
Yeah,
but
I mean, at the end of the day, I've said it from the beginning. The NFL always wins, no matter what. This virus has not really affected the NFL that much. The draft won't be as extravagant as it normally is, but it'll still happen. Free agency still happen. This hit right in the perfect time for the NFL in the off season, and it'll hopefully things will be back to normal by the time the NFL kicks off. And it's just it's unbelievable how how the Shield is always undefeated no matter what.
Yes, somehow.
And we'll still have our new uniforms, right?
Yeah, it's coming soon, right? Like in the next couple of weeks.
I feel like I check 20 times a day because I have nothing to do now. And they haven't leaked anything. It's amazing.
Yeah, there's been zero leaks. I mean, there's been people saying like,
Reddit, there's nothing.
Yeah, there's been people saying like, oh, you're gonna like it when you see it or whatever. But that's literally the extent.
Yeah,
of it.
I don't believe any of them. Yeah. Literally, everyone just says, "Oh, they're fire," and then they tell you nothing about it. It's like, okay, anyone can say that, and they get a bunch of retweets and stuff. It's like they've told you nothing.
Guys, I'm getting word. The Falcons uniforms are fantastic. You guys,
they are fire. Yeah,
I am not.
Our insider sources are saying, yeah.
Or they're showing old photos of like Rydell helmets from like 2014. It's like, oh, they leaked. It's like it's on their freaking Instagram page.
God, people are brilliant.
Do you have a reveal date?
I think that one dude, what's his last name, Jukes or something. He said the 14th, but then he backtracked on it. So.
If the Falcons need to just do this because you'll get all the attention you want anyway because nothing's happening. Just drop it one day. Out of nowhere, just drop it.
Somebody said they should have done it today so that if everyone said it sucked, they could have went April Fools and then just spent 2 weeks fixing it.
We're not doing these actually. Yeah.
Like what the Rams should have done with their logo.
Perfect. Oh, that would have been perfect.
Yep. Yeah, as long as it's not as bad as what the Rams are doing. Oh my goodness. Yeah. That's a disaster.
The one thing I trust the Falcons to do is to have good uniforms.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's been consistent.
So
Well, the one thing we know is they keep using all of them and like basically saying there's combos. So we're going to get red, we're going to get black, like pants and tops. That's all I know based on everything they've said.
Lime green.
It won't be just red, white.
Add that Seattle flourish in there, yeah.
Yeah, the Seattle fluorescent green.
I think there's going to be silver. I think the silver is going to be the flourish because Peregrine Falcons got that little gray thing going, so that could be.
I just want red helmets.
I just want to go back to all black.
I think it is going to be black primary.
Well, you're going to get the red helmets regardless because hopefully it sounds like that one helmet shell thing's changing next year anyway. So.
Oh yeah, and I like that. It gives every team a lot more creativity to be able to do what they want. Let me rephrase it.
Makes throwbacks better.
I want primary red helmets, like 13, 14 games a year. I just think they look so nice, so sleek.
With the old logo.
Yes, that would be so nice.
Yeah, it's really going to be interesting to see what goes on with that because no matter what, people are going to be upset, but also maybe people will be happy. I just want to know what they look like, but really,
I know.
Like Dave said, the only one thing that's been consistently good about this franchise has been the jerseys, the uniforms.
They've always been fire. So
the one good thing.
Yeah. I mean, you can't screw up red, black, and white. It's really hard. It's really hard to screw up red, black, and white. But
Cardinals did it.
Well, yeah.
Then
they had that black uniform though. That was fire.
Oh yeah.
That black Cardinals uniform, that was all right. But yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. All right. Well, we've gone on forever talking about uniforms and everything. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up.
We have nothing better to do.
We don't have anything better to do. You're absolutely right. But we got to save some content for the rest of the off season. So thank you guys for tuning in. Like I said, if you haven't already liked the episode, we appreciate that. If you do, that helps other people find it on the YouTubes because the YouTubes are vast and are filled with much content. So, our content is the best content. So help us out there if you don't mind. If you're not already subscribed, we appreciate that too. Thanks, guys. Before we get out of here, though, do want to thank my co-hosts. Starting off, we'll go back to front this time. Starting with Evan Birchfield. He's on Twitter at Evan Birchfield. Evan, anything you're working on you'd like to plug?
I did a article recently on Matt Ryan talked about Todd Gurley and losing Hooper. There's a couple things on there. Just read everybody's stuff at the Falcoholic because let's be honest, you're quarantined. There's nothing else to do.
No excuses.
There's great content on there. Yeah, there's no excuses anymore.
Read our stuff even if you're not quarantined though.
Yeah, exactly. And listen to our podcast if you're still driving to work. And I hope everybody stays safe who has to leave their house and stuff like that. Because we are in some tough times, but we're persistent. We'll get through it eventually. So just hope everybody takes care, washes their hands. And I got to get back to my Harry Potter marathon because I'm just busy.
Yes, that's right. Go hit that up. Yeah. Also with us tonight, Eric Robinson, after some brief technical difficulties. He's on Twitter at _Eric_Robinson. Eric, anything that you want to plug tonight?
Yeah, as soon as we get off of here, I'm going to dive into some AJ Terrell film and put a little report together for that. But I also have a Bryce Hall scouting report that's out. Give that a look-see. Trayvon Diggs as well. Scouting report out there on him. Just, again, check out the Falcoholic site. This is a very difficult time right now when it comes, for sports fans, but at the Falcoholic, we're definitely pumping out content to keep you guys somewhat occupied.
Yeah.
So, take a look.
Absolutely, yeah. And big shout out to Eric and Everett, who are doing just fantastic draft work, doing all these scouting reports. They've actually freed me up to do some more like big picture draft stuff and more like cap stuff because they're just crushing these scouting reports. So definitely check those out. They're doing a great job. Also with us tonight, you know him. You don't need me to remind you, but I will anyway. Dave Choate at the Falcoholic. Also, if you're interested in coffee takes and other takes, he's at Words and Beer. So, Dave, anything? I know you're working on stuff, but anything in particular you'd like to plug?
No, it's actually you guys are crushing it right now, so I don't have anything on the docket for the next couple days.
Oh, all right.
So big thanks for that. But if you do want to find out why Dirk Cutter and his 1st and 10 run tendencies and Todd Gurley and his 1st and 10 run tendencies are such a match made in heaven, I did just write about that, so go check that out.
Excellent indeed. Finally, we have Adnan Ikic at Say Which Way on Twitter. Adnan, anything that you'd like to plug tonight?
Yes, check out the article I wrote talking about Julio Jones having the best PFF score since 2006. That felt pretty timely because it dropped right before Antonio Brown called Julio out, and I mean that's something we didn't mention because nobody really pays Antonio Brown any attention anymore.
Right.
Also, speaking of wide receivers, I'll dive into a comprehensive Calvin Ridley article coming up, and hopefully I'll get that going for this weekend. So check that out.
Yes, definitely check that out, guys. Some good stuff. And I am, of course, Kevin Knight. You can follow me at Falcoholic Kevin on the Twitters. Today I had the aptly named "What are the biggest Falcons draft needs" post, which prepared me very well for this show. But yeah, you can check that out if you want this show in a written form, getting into some of the more lower draft needs. And then Friday I'm going to be looking at Foye Oluokun and whether or not he can kind of seize a starting role next to Deion Jones. Can we trust him and all that? So check that out on Friday. But otherwise, folks, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you. Stay safe out there. Practice that social distancing, #flatten the curve. And we will see you guys again in 2 weeks. Stay healthy, stay safe. Love you guys. And, we will catch you next time. Have a great night, everyone. See ya.